Good morning, grade 11 students. In this session for week 27, we're going to start our new document about the pedigree. First of all, what is a pedigree? Pedigree, it's known as the family tree. It's a genetic representation of the family tree that diagrams the inheritance of specific traits or specific diseases through the generations. From, for example, from your grandma and grandpa to your father and mother to you to your son and daughter and so on. This is called the generations. It shows the relationship between each of the family members and indicates which individual express or carry a trait or it carry this trait but in a silent way. What does this mean? We're going to say about this. So this is the pedigree. Pedigree, it represents, as we said, it represents the family tree. Always and always and always and always. Whenever you have to draw a pedigree, the circle, it corresponds to the female and the square, it corresponds to the male. Always you have to give the legend. This is the legend of the pedigree. This is the legend of the pedigree. For example, they give the red circle for the affected female, while the blue circle for the normal female. So both circles, they are for females, but the red is for the affected and the blue for the normal. However, the boxes or the square is for the male, the red one for the affected and the blue one for the normal. You want to start step by step. You want to draw a pedigree. Pedigree should be given a title and also you have to give the legend. This is the legend of the pedigree. Without this, I can't understand this pedigree. I can know from this legend that the red is affected individual. So this is an affected female. Also, this is an affected female. Also, this is an affected female. And this is also an affected female. While the red box or the red square is an affected male. So this is an affected male. Also, this is an affected male. And also, this is an affected male. While the rest, they are in blue, they are normal. They are not affected by any of the diseases. First, you have to know that we have, this is the first generation. So they gave it in Roman the number 1. And this is the second generation. And they give it in Roman number 2. And this is the third generation. And they give it the Roman number 3. And this is the fourth generation. And they give it the Roman number 4. For example, in the pedigree, they give you, for example, the numbers 1, 2, and here they give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So first, if we want to start with the Roman number, I want to name this individual number 1 in the first generation. I have to put the generation number, which is 1, and I have to put a dash. What is the number of the individual? It's 1. Why? Because also, here I have 1. If I set individual 1 in the pedigree, here individual 1, and this one is individual 1. So in order to differentiate between them, I have to put the generation. This individual is 2. So I have to put generation 1 dash 2. So this one is called individual 1, 2. Generation 1, individual number 2. So if I told you, Yahani, can you name this individual? This one, the عليه arrow. Can you name this individual according to the pedigree?
It's 2, 1.
2, 1. Very good. So generation 2 dash number 1. Lean, individual 3 here. Can you name this individual?
2, 3.
Very good. 2, 3. If I want to name this individual number 7, Yanada, can you give the name of this individual?
Generation 2
Yes.
dash 7.
Dash 7. Very good. So dash generation 2 dash 7. And also as well as for generation 3 and generation 4. So from now on, if you want to talk about this individual, I have to talk individual 2, 7 is affected, for example. Or here individual 2, 5. Or here individual 2, 6. And so on. So this is the tip, or to start with the pedigree. We said the pedigree, it shows diseases, it shows individuals that carry the disease or they carry it silently. We will know about this, what the meaning of carrying it silently. Let's continue with this application. In this application, we are going to continue our lesson and to explain and to solve at the same time. Sarah and Maher, both of them, they are normal. So they are normal individual and they have a family history of albinism. What is albinism? Albinism, it's a disease where melanin is absent, is not produced, leading to the lack of the pigmentation of the hair and the skin cell. So this is known by the albinism. So albinism is disease where we have a melanin, which is the pigment, and the skin is not present. So they will lead to the pigmentation, lack of the pigmentation of the hair and the skin cells. This is what is known by albinism. Yes, Ali, your question is? Yes. Yeah.
مش هي المهق او شاك.
لا الالبينيزم هي اللي بيكون like this. This is the albinism. Okay. اللي بيكون hair pigmentation, lack of pigmentation, for example the beard, the hair, حواجبه, and all of them they are white in color. بيسموه الابرص بالعربي. Okay. So this is the albinism. Okay Ali?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the albinism. This is albinism male and albinism female. It affects both sexes, male and female. So Sarah and Maher, they are normal, as we said. So they gave birth to 4 children. عندهم 4 أولاد. First one is called Ahmad. Second one is Jack. Third one is Marie. And the fourth is Fatima. So here, all of them, they have normal phenotype. All of them, they have normal phenotype. But Jack, it's an albino individual. So Jack is an albino. Okay? So Jack has albinism. All of them, they are normal, but Jack has albinism. So what can you explain? How can you explain this? Okay? So how can you explain this? This can be explained that Sarah and Maher, they are normal, but they have the allele of the disease, but it was masked in the parents. So let's continue to start with this application. First part, what do they want? First, they need to construct the pedigree or the family tree of this family. Then second, you have to determine the dominant and the recessive allele. So you have to determine the dominant and the recessive allele. Designate by symbols the corresponding alleles. Determine the genotypes. Whenever they said determine, so you have to give the genotype of the individuals. So you have to give the genotype and the explanation for sure. And part 5, you have to give the factorial analysis to verify these results obtained. So let's start step by step to construct a pedigree. Before we start with the pedigree, we have some hints or some notes. We have to know them. Here, some hints related to the pedigree. These notes, they are very important. Also, whenever it's said we have a circle, this means that we have a woman. So here we have a woman. And whenever we have a square, meaning that we have a man. And this symbol is for the fetus. Whenever you see this, we have a fetus. We have a new embryo. So here we have a fetus. Whenever we have a woman with the trait 1, for example, let's say trait 1, it's normal. And the trait 2, it's affected, let's say. Okay? So trait 1 is normal, trait 2 it's affected or abnormal or disease. All of them, they have the same meaning. Affected or abnormal or disease. Trait 1, it's normal. Similar to the trait 1, we use it in the woman. And this one is affected or disease. All of them, they have the same. So here, Trait 1 and trait 2, they should be the same in the woman and the female. For example, here you use the one for the male, the box, the circle that is empty for normal. You can't use the box that's empty for affected. Both of them should be the same. The white for the normal and the colored one here in blue, let's say, is for the affected. Whenever you see this, a symbol of the male and the symbol of the female that are connected by a line, so here we have a marriage between these two. Also, whenever we have a symbol of the male and the symbol of the female connected by two lines, this means that they have a relative meeting between relatives, cousins, for example. Here we have the symbol of the children. For example, male and female, they married and they gave birth to children. This is the symbol of this. And then here we have the symbol of the twins. So whenever you see these symbols, meaning that we have twins here. Okay? So let's start step by step in this application. So first, they want you to draw the pedigree. So we said that here we don't have numbers, if you know. Here we have the names. So we have Sarah and Maher. So Sarah and Maher, they got married. They gave birth for Ahmad, Fatima, Jack, and Marie. All of them, they are normal unless for Jack. So first of all, I have to put the legend. The circle for the normal woman and the box for the normal man. While the box that is, for example, filled with blue, here you can use your pencil, for example, and finish using a pencil for an albino man. Albino man, a man that has albinism. So this legend is very important. Someone is going to ask me, Mr., why did you use, for example, the circle and you put, yeah, and you make it, for example, a dash like this, and you write albino woman. Why did you use this? Who can tell me why I didn't use this albino woman? I didn't use this symbol. Yes, let's see. Who can tell me why I didn't use this symbol? Yes, Hani, what do you think?
Because we didn't use.
We don't have it in the pedigree, so we don't use it. Simple. We don't have it in the pedigree, so simply we can't use it. And whenever you finish, you have to give the title of the pedigree, and you have to provide the pedigree inside a box. And your drawing should be inside a box. The legend is under the box, and also the title, pedigree, showing the family history of albinism, or simply pedigree of the family. This is the pedigree. Everything is good. Till now, every you figure you have to draw it, it should be drawn inside a box. And sure, your drawing should be using a pencil, meaning that these lines you have to draw a pencil, using a pencil. Okay? And for sure, you have to draw it inside a box, draw it using a pencil, give it a title, and don't forget the legend. Here are the family members. They are normal except for Jack, which is affected. So if I ask you a question here, is the allele for the disease dominant or recessive? Justify your answer. Yalla, let's see. Start raising your hands. Is the allele of the
That's
disease
سؤال.
dominant or recessive? Is the allele of the disease dominant or recessive? Justify your answer. We have raising the hands. Yes, Tara, what do you think? Is the allele of the disease dominant or recessive?
It's recessive
Recessive.
because
Why?
it's not. It's masked in both parents, and it was present in Jack's.
And Jack and their children and their son. So it's recessive.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Tala. Tala said that the allele of disease is recessive. So before construct, determine the dominant and the recessive. So from now on, whenever we have to determine the dominant and the recessive allele, what you have to do is you have to use a pedigree. You have to say Sarah and Maher, they are normal, but they gave birth to an affected son, which is Jack. So the allele of the disease was masked in the parent. It's recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. So normal allele who is dominant, while the recessive allele is the allele of the disease. So as I said, since Sarah and Maher, they are normal, but they gave birth to an albino Jack, then the parents, they must be carrying the allele of the disease, which is the albinism allele. But this is a very important word here. It was masked by the dominant normal allele. So the normal allele is dominant over the recessive allele of albinism. Let N capital be the symbol of the normal allele, which is dominant over the recessive allele of albinism. And here I gave A for the albinism. Let A small be the symbol of the allele of albinism, which is recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. So I gave N and A. Let's move to the pedigree here step by step. So the normal is N and the affected albino is A. Here all the normal, they should carry the allele and they have the allele M. And here Sarah have the allele M. And Marie have the allele M. Fatima also as well have the allele M. And Ahmad as well have the allele M. So and all of them they have the M. What about Jack? Jack is affected and the allele of disease is recessive. So it should be expressed only in the homozygous state. So this Jack should be a small, a small. So both of them, they are A. Jack is AA. So Jack can inherit A from each of his parents. So allele from Maher and allele from Sarah. So the genotype should be an A and A. Because if it's an N, Jack could not be affected. It's normal for sure. But Jack is affected and the allele of disease is recessive, so it should be expressed only in the case of homozygous. So it should be a small, and should inherit a small from each of the parents. What about Ahmad, Fatima, and Marie? What is the genotype of Ahmad? Who can tell me what is the genotype of Ahmad? Yeah, let's start. Let's see. Genotype of Ahmad. Yes, Leen.
It's either an N or an A.
Very good. It can be an N or it can be an A. Why? Because it's normal, but it may inherit N from each of the family members or N and A. Also, Fatima can be an N or an A. And also Marie can be an N or an A. How can we determine this? We can determine this by specific techniques, or if they marry, we can determine this. So using some techniques, we can determine whether Ahmad, Fatima, and Marie, they are homozygous and heterozygous. We are going to talk about these in the coming sessions, inshallah, about the techniques that allow us to detect whether they are homozygous or heterozygous. This is a dominant, so it can be expressed in both homozygous and heterozygous. Yes, Ali Bustani.
أستاذ أمراض بيكون في توينز هيك إنه واحد بيكون نورمال وواحد بيكون
Sometimes it occurs.
إنه
Sometimes it occurs بس ما بيكونوا
بس كيف
identical
تصير؟
twins. ما بيكونوا identical. ما بيكونوا identical twins. بيكونوا fraternal twins. يعني ما انه identical، يعني ممكن يكونوا صبي او بنت او ممكن يكونوا صبيان بس ما مش identical، ما بيشبهوا بعض 100%. اوكي؟
بس
Okay.
نادرة كتير صح؟
هيدي الكيس قليل كتير. Yes. So here, since Jack is albino, so albinism allele is recessive and it's only expressed, only determined, so we have to justify. And only expressed in the case of homozygous, so Jack is the akidi pure of the genotype A small. Maher and Sarah, they are normal, but they gave birth to Jack. Jack is unaffected, so they should be carrying the allele of the albinism, but it's masked in the parent by the normal dominant allele. So they should be hybrid, heterozygote of genotype MA. While since the normal allele is dominant, it can be expressed in homozygote and heterozygote. So Marie, Fatima, and Ahmad may receive two alleles M from their parents, or one allele M and one allele A small. So they could be pure or hybrid. pure of genotype and M, or hybrid of genotype and A. Part 5, we have to do the factorial analysis, normal with normal. So factorial analysis first, we have to start with the phenotype. So starting with the phenotype, what we have to start is male crossed with a female. Male and female, they are normal. Both of them, they are heterozygous, like Maher and Sarah. So normal, and here the female also normal. So here, what is the genotype of Maher and Sarah? We find out the genotype of Maher and Sarah. Their genotype is NA. So genotype, the male is going to be an A small crossed with the female and A small. So this is the case of the female. Gametes, different types of gametes. Here we want to work it in percentage. We can work it in percentage, but let's work it in proportion if you want. Because proportion قليل ما عم نستعملها. So proportion. So عندي N و A, two different type of gametes, N and A, and every one of these is half. So here we have half, and here it's half. Normal factorial analysis, and here we have N, it's half, and A, it's half. Okay, and then we move to the table of cross. Table of cross is very easy. We have to make it large. Let's see. Here we can divide it into two. Here male and female. We can divide it also into two. And here we can divide it into two. So here we have male crossed with female. So N, it's half. And here we have A, it's half. And here we have also N, it's half in the female gametes. And A, it's half in the female gametes. So here we have NM, it's 1 over 4. And here we have NA, it's also 1 over 4. Also here we have NA, 1 over 4. And finally we have AA, also 1 over 4. Moving for the table of result. The table of results, what we have to do? We have to do genotype and phenotype. Genotype and phenotype. So the genotype, we have NN, only 1, so it's 1 over 4. We have NA, here we have 1 over 4 plus 1 over 4, it's 1 over 2, it's half. And here we have AA, it's 1 over 4. So 1 over 4, NN, so it's normal. NA, half, also it's normal. So half plus 1 over 4, it's a 3 over 4. They are normal. So 3 out of 4 children, they are normal, like Ahmad, Fatima, and Mary, while Jack is the only albino. So 1 out of 4 is an albino. So they said to verify the result, what we have to say? We have to say finally, therefore results are verified. And by this way, we determined the factorial analysis and we verified the results. So this is everything for this session.